Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today or whenever you're joining us. And my guest this morning is Tash McCormick. And Tash, thanks so much for being here with me today. And I'm excited to hear your story. And I'm going to read a bit of your biography here so people can know more about you. So, Tash McCormick empowers mamas and women with autoimmune and stress related symptoms to reclaim their feminine flow, freedom, and joy. And she does this with her program called The Body, Biz and Beyond. Tash has 20 years of experience in healthcare as a nurse and holistic facilitator. She has transformed her own extreme physical and mental symptoms and those of clients by blending science with soul with powerful practices that include quantum keys, metaphysical anatomy, and hydrogen rich water. And so, very good. In the description, you'll find her social media links to contact her and follow her if you'd like to. And so, Tash, could you please tell us a little bit of your story? You mentioned healing, from your own struggles. And if you'd tell us a bit of that and how then you got into being RN and then from there to do what you do now.
Okay, so we've got like 3 hours, right? No.
Yeah, you better make it short.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a whole life journey, right? I'm 36 now as of January, and yeah, everything in my life from in utero to 10 seconds ago has got me right to this moment right here. So I appreciate
Absolutely.
you for giving me this opportunity to share. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah. And yeah, so kind of how I got into nursing, that was your one question. I think that's kind of how it was before the other stuff. So I'll start there. I felt like I just fell into it. I kind of felt like everything in my life I just fell into. And that can be described now as like an unconscious competence when you're like creating these amazing things in your life, but you're actually not aware that you're doing that. And so nursing was one of those things for me. And I thought I had it made. I was like, I get to help people. I love my job. And like I get to be in the healthcare and I have a career. I'm set for life. Right. Mm-hmm. And so that was kind of my mindset. And then eventually I worked on a chronic care unit for like 6 years. And so this was working with a lot of like nonverbal patients. So that was like a whole new, and they had respiratory and they were on ventilators and yeah. And so it was interesting because I didn't find out until later that my grandma, who passed when I was 4, she actually like had a tracheotomy and needed suctioning. And that's essentially what I was doing in my nursing career. And I had no idea until years into my career that was actually what my grandma had happened. So again, that unconscious competent, right? Mm-hmm. And so I loved it. People would be like, why? Like, that's weird that you like love suctioning people. But I felt like I could get in there and I could get deep. And I like had this little knack and it was like fishing to me, which is kind of like a weird analogy when you're, suctioning somebody's trach. But that's what it felt like to me. And I loved it. And I loved working with the nonverbal patients because they were still there. Right. But that was a whole new avenue of connecting with someone who wasn't able to respond. Some of them could only even say yes or no. Some of them couldn't even really respond to anything. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of a blend of, the whole healthcare plus the energetics of it. So as long as I could remember, I've been able to like, just animals would like speak to me and nature would speak to me and people's bodies would speak to me. Like I could feel and see experiences coming from people's bodies. And that was definitely pushed down, right? As a child, like one of my earliest memories was this daddy long leg, like smiling. And all I could see was this daddy long leg and this huge smile, like way bigger, like the size of like a human body, just smiling. And I remember being so excited telling a family member, I can't remember which one. And they were like, yeah, no, Like that didn't happen. Like, right. And so it just, those things kind of happened. And I think that's, you know, a societal norm that is shifting. I do feel this is shifting. We're allowing children now more to be curious and connect with nature and accept their gifts, which I very much attempt in the best way that I can to facilitate for my 2-year-old. So I was also realizing that this was kind of happening in nursing, right? Again, not aware of this. I just thought everyone could tell what the patients needed by the look on their face or just their energy. I thought everyone could do that. Not everyone could do that. So I had a really special rapport with these patients. And then basically I had a mental breakdown that I now call a mental breakthrough. My entire body was shutting down. I was burnt out. And, you know, like I lived a great life. Like I was traveling all the time. I traveled all over the world. People would always be like, you're living the dream. You know, like I owned my own home, but I was never home. I basically lived out of my car. I'd had everything I needed in my car, and I could just be like, oh, because I worked 4 on, 5 off. So I had so much time, and I could take, you know, I was switching shifts all the time so that I could have even more time off. That led to the burnout as well, because then I was working like a 12-hour day shift and then a night shift and then coming off a night shift to do a day shift. And it was just basically never slept. And so, but I was having so much fun, or so I thought anyways. And so my body just started to completely shut down. I had a shoulder injury that kept recurring. I was having these crazy abdominal pains. My menstruation flow was either non-existent or constant. I ended up having an emergency appendectomy. And then I was in the hospital for 10 days. And then within weeks of getting out of the hospital, I was in a car crash, totaled my car. And that still didn't even be like, hey, Tash, you know, can you change your life? I mean, there was moments, right? And I was doing those things. I started exercising. I did Tough Mudder, and I was like, okay, you know, now I'm good, right? But it was just more of doing, right? I changed everything I possibly could. And so then I had full-blown body psoriasis. And that was the key. That was my quantum key, one of them. That was like the whoo, because I couldn't hide what I was going through anymore, right? It was literally from here to my ankles, like red patches, angry, fiery, like everyone could see it. I could not hide it. So that led to extreme depression, severe anxiety. I realized I had PTSD. And I was suicidal, and I mean, every moment, I was like, all right, how can I make this look like an accident? And yet I was so grateful for life. I loved nature. I loved being with friends and family and the children in my life. And I was so grateful, yet my mind was not matching my soul, and my body was not matching my mind or my soul. Right? So that's when the disconnects happen. That's when the dis-ease comes in. And I wasn't allowing my emotions. And emotions are energy in motion. And so when we're not allowing these to flow through us, which I wasn't, I was pushing them down, right? Whatever, you know, this all stemmed way deep, right into my childhood. I was like, oh, okay, you know what? Maybe that didn't happen, or maybe that wasn't as bad as I thought, or, you know, don't cry, be a good girl, blah, 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 right? And it all just went in because I couldn't take it. But on the outside, it was like, oh yeah, no, cool. All right, I'll be a good girl, whatever. I'll people please, and I'll just help everyone else. And I don't need help. I'm good. So that led me to this mental breakdown. Like I said, now mental breakthrough. So I was actually off of work for almost a whole year from nursing. And I've never worked so hard in my life. I've literally never worked so hard in my life, because for me, I did not want to be off work. I've been working as long as since a child. I was always helping my family and looking after my cousins, and I loved it. And then babysitting, and then I had the first job as soon as I was old enough. And so that was not a good time for me. I felt like there's this huge identity shift or crisis even. So I basically just decided I was going to transform my body and heal from the inside out and learn the conscious and the subconscious. And I had no idea what any of that meant. Like, I was just like, I'm going to heal from the inside out. But I was like, I don't know what that actually means. Like, oh, but I just was like, it's happening, right? Because I was like, I am not having this full-blown body psoriasis. And like I said, I changed everything. Okay. I changed. Oh, it's 11:11. I love it. Oh, it's probably 10:11 for you. So I changed everything, right? I changed the position at my work multiple times. I went crazy into working out, did Tough Mudder a couple of times. I was training for a triathlon. And then that shoulder injury at work, it happened again. So when I had to do yoga, I was like, all right, I'll change that to yoga. I had to modify yoga. So that just made me angry. I was like, I have to modify yoga. I don't even want to be doing yoga. It's like, I had to like, go.
Yeah.
Right? And I, of course, went to like the doctor and multiple dermatologists, nutrition, dietitian, osteo, chiro, massage, physio, all the things. And nothing was changing it, right? And every test was coming back normal. And I was getting multiple tests like, okay, that can't be right. I'm going to go somewhere else and get a test. And they were all coming back like basically like, you're fine. And I was like, if one more person tells me that I'm fine, I'm going to lose my mind, which I mean, I actually did. But that's what I needed. So I was like, all right, it's nothing that I can change, right? I did all the cleanses, all the natural things. It's nothing that I can change from the outer. That's why I have to go from the inside out. So that's when I found meditation and mindfulness. And I'd love to be like, and then I was cured. But actually, the first time I went to sit down and meditate by myself, I borrowed a CD player because the meditation was on a CD, borrowed the CD player, plugged it in. I was like, all right, Tash, like, let's heal from the inside out. Let's go. We can do this. I laid down and literally within like seconds, I was so mad that I yanked the cord out of the wall because I was like, what the heck is this? Like, I was just so angry. I couldn't even sit with myself for that long. And I didn't even have the power to like just turn it off. I had to like yank it out. And this was very much reflecting in my body, right? The anger, the red, people literally were saying like your skin is angry, right? And it very much was. And so this is what really got me into the metaphysical anatomy, is especially with my 20 years in healthcare. I've seen a lot of pain, seen a lot of suffering. I've seen a lot of diagnosis and treatments and misdiagnosis and mistreatments and all those different things. And again, coming back to what I remember as a child, like I could see these emotions coming off of people. So it was really blending that science with soul and bringing those two together, which I didn't have to do myself. There's like so much information on this that out there, it turns out, right? On metaphysical anatomy and all those amazing things. And so that's when I get to really, get away from that diagnosis, because for me, I did not resonate with having like stress-related symptoms, right? And I certainly did not resonate with autoimmune. So I kind of step away from that diagnosis. And because I was not accepting those diagnoses and the extreme depression, severe anxiety, although it did give me like okay, like I don't need to go to a loony bin. I'm just extremely depressed and have severe anxiety and PTSD, right? Like there was a relief to hear that, but then it was like, okay, but I don't resonate with that. Like that's not, I want to choose differently. So it's honoring that and getting to shift that. And that's where the reclaiming your feminine flow comes in, and reclaiming that freedom and reclaiming that joy. Because I certainly did not ever see me being free and flow and joyful ever again without alcohol. because I definitely used that for many years, substances to mask, essentially. So then I just started taking every energy course that I could, free and paid. Like, I paid thousands and thousands of dollars when I was off of work for this almost a year. I paid a lot of money, which, I mean, it was worth every penny. But it was just, I had already been trying to do the conventional things that were free and that were covered even through my benefits, and nothing was helping. And the shifts that I was having were so slow. And I was to the point where I was even calling helplines all the time, and I was getting like cut off on the helplines. Like, I was like, what is happening? Like, I need help. Please help me. So this is when I found the energy courses and the mentors, and I hired them, because what I found is I was going to, like, again, like I said, I was changing every single thing. Like, I was just like, okay, like, I need to find my thing. And this is why when you're journeying with me, I get to be this like grounded, sturdy tree for you, because I didn't have that. And it was like the branches were just flying everywhere. In fact, it was more like the roots. I wasn't even rooted in. It was just this tree with these flying roots everywhere. And I was like, oh, this is going to help me, please. Like, I just fix me, heal me, right? And with these energy courses, this is when I realized, like, actually nobody can heal me, right? Just like I can't heal anybody else. But what I can do is I can witness, and I can be this guide and guide you on this like love journey to inner peace. Right. And so that's where we get into the quantum keys and the primordial movement and the metaphysical anatomy and this water transformation. And I get to really guide you on your personalized health journey, because it's not anybody else's, right? Because of course, everything that I tried, someone else was like, oh yeah, go to this person. Like, I went to multiple different, physio, osteo, chiro, massage. I went to many different ones, because everyone was like, oh, this person changed my life. Go to them. So I did. I went to like everyone. And it wasn't until I really got in here. So actually, I'm just going to invite us all to just take a deep breath and just really get into our bodies for a second. So let's just take a deep breath. And out with a little sigh and a shake. Just allowing a little bit of sound and movement. You can even tap your body a little bit if you like. Tap your arms, your heart space, your chest, your face, your head. Coming back to the heart space.
Feel the energy moving.
Right? And notice what's shifting already. It's by a couple deep breaths. In the belly, pat your belly. In your back, your kidneys, lower back. And then give yourself a big hug. Oh, like one of the big squeezy hugs, like you just haven't seen yourself forever and you're just so excited. So tight. And then reach up to the sky and just allow you to come down like a rainbow. And a last grounding deep breath. Whew.
Well, could you talk more about the quantum keys then? I'm not familiar exactly what you're talking about. And so maybe other people would like to, to know more of what you're meaning.
Perfect. So I think that's actually a perfect segue, because if we can notice how that experience was for you, right? Was it like, oh man, that felt so good, amazing? Or was that like, I'm not going to do that, right? That's ridiculous. Or was it, oh, I'll do that later. Thanks for the reminder. I'll do that later, right? Or was it like, I did it and it was so uncomfortable. Like, that was like the most uncomfortable. I had to sit with myself. I had to touch myself. I had to love myself, see myself, feel myself, right? So just noticing how that experience was, this is where the quantum keys come in. So this is where I come in, and I've been where you have been, right? I've been on the other side of like, oh, I can't do this, right? And had somebody safe, had somebody guide me on this sacred journey to inner peace, right? And so the quantum keys is really just your body speaking to me, your energy speaking to me. And it's getting in, and it doesn't have to be that we have to like relive any traumas or experiences or anything like that. Like my big thing is that it gets to be easy and fun. And it's still hard work, right? But like you feel good after. So the quantum keys specifically is just like working in the energy of the quantum, right? We are these infinite beings. We have these infinite possibilities and this infinite potential. Mm-hmm. So see how even I'm talking and my hands are expanding. So the quantum keys are like this energy that unlocks what's been keeping you constricted, what's been going inside and going in the body, in the organs. Whether they're manifested as physical symptoms yet or not, that's what's happening. And so the quantum keys literally unlock these pathways and open these doors. And this is where the expansion comes in, and we get to expand and embody and embrace. Because also maybe you're thinking like, hey, you know what? I've actually done a bunch of work and that experience felt great for me. Or you know, you've had experience with this, because then I've been on that side of it as well, where I'm like, hey, actually, I'm like ready to go. Let's go in and like, let's move some energy, right? Like let's clear some ancestral patterns and traumas and embody the goodness, right? Because there is joy as well in the body, and it just might be like overlapped by what's constricted and contracting. So we get to actually like burst that through, and we get to embody and, you know, honor our ancestors as well. Because this is maybe an unpopular opinion of, you know, like, oh, you know, we're the generation of cycle breakers. Yes, 100%, we absolutely are. And so are our ancestors. It just looked a lot different, right? And I think that's where we get to really honor our ancestors, honor our families, for who they are and what they've chosen and not chosen. Because whether, you know, we think that they're the best people ever or the worst people ever or somewhere in between, they have chose differently, even whether you're able to see that in this moment or not, than that were done to them, right? And then we get to choose differently. And this is where I'm so grateful, because yeah, the quantum is incredible with like the energy and, you know, this literally like this energy of frequency. So us in this moment is literally spreading to the whole entire universe, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. Oh, awesome. Yes, we are.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the internet gets to do that as well.
Yeah.
Right? Uh-huh. And I used to be so against the internet, which of course, because I was so against like, you know, energy, and because I was told my whole life that was crazy, that was non-existent. So of course I was resistive to it. Mm-hmm.
Right.
But the internet gets to be that as well. Like you're in Kansas, I'm in Ontario, Canada. Like if it wasn't existing, we wouldn't be able to have this beautiful conversation right now. Right.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's kind of what the quantum keys are. It's just really getting into that subconscious. And yeah.
So I get the quantum part, but the keys then are tapping into the emotions that are inside that want to come out.
Yes.
Right? Or the keys are ways that signal you to which emotion or how to do it or something.
Yeah. So it's just like this. I have these like spirit guides, if you even want to call them that. Sure. And and it's not that I like, have people, I'm like, hey, what's happening now? It comes to me and it just flows through me. And I just
relate.
care, right?
Like I relate.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I'm just this open channel of divine love. And, you know, I used to be so resistant to that as well. Right. Like I'd be like, during the energy courses, when I was first started many years ago, we would like be practicing on each other. And I was still like, I can't do this, but like, yes, please heal me. And like the things that were coming through just made no sense. And I was just like, and I would like feel these things. And sometimes I would like not say it. And then I just started to be like, okay, well, if I don't say it, I'm not going to say anything. And then they're going to be like, okay, are we even practicing or what? So I just started saying these things that made no sense to me. And the person would be like crying or being like, right. And it made perfect sense to them. I remember like the one time this person was like, I've been throwing up every single day for the last 2 years and I didn't throw up. She didn't throw up the next day. And I was like, what? Right. And so I was like, okay, there's something here. And so this is why I was like, I have to share this with people. It's been so transformational for me. And then with nursing, right, it was like, I didn't really see people getting better, right? I felt like so then going through this whole transformation off of work this year, then going back to work and nursing, I was like, I
can't do this anymore. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It was like, what am I doing? What am I doing to people? What am I contributing? And this isn't bashing the healthcare system. I'm very grateful for it, right? Especially in acute care and emergencies and like my emergency appendectomy, right? Like, holy moly, that I wouldn't be here if we didn't have healthcare. And there's so much in there that I physically did not agree with that I had to do, or else I would, could be in really big trouble and lose my license and all these different things. That started to manifest in my body as well. Because now I'm like, right? Like I want to help people. I want to change the world. I want to, help people have these transformational experiences and journeys. And that wasn't happening. And then I ended up moving again. I was like, okay, well, I just got to switch units. Went to day surgery, loved it, because I was like, I am one of the last people they see before they go unconscious into their surgery. And I'm one of the first people that they see when they become conscious again after their surgery. And I loved that. So people would be coming into their surgery, right? And they were like, they're terrified. They're about to go have surgery. And I was like, all right. And I had to like ask them all these questions, but it was just like, okay, we're going to get through this part. And then we're just going to like bring the energy up and be like, all right, like this is going to be amazing surgery. Like talking about what they love in life. And the people on the unit called me the sunshine rainbow or something like that. I remember something around there, like, oh, here's the sunshine rainbow. But it was just like you could see the energy of other people who were like talking about, their relationships not working in their house or something, like complaining about their husband. And I was like, are you really complaining about your husband right now? And this person is going into surgery? Like they don't care about that. Right? Yeah. But then 2020 hit, and then it was like, all right, my body again was like, what's happening? So I really stepped out of the nursing aspect in the hospitals, and now it's more out creating the systems, because I wanted to recreate the system for many, many years, right? I was like, I can, just as like the body, I actually never thought of that before, but I always felt like as a nurse, I was like, okay, well, like I can change it from the inside, right? I can heal it from the inside out. But in doing that, I was actually like getting crushed. So now instead of trying to change the systems, right? Which again, conversations like these, offering transformational experiences to people, that is changing the systems. And it's a matter of just like out creating the systems. So it's not that like, hey, if you're on medications or you need some kind of, medical intervention, it's not that I'm like, oh, nope, not working with you, right? It's actually like, okay, amazing. Let's work in combination with that, right? Because especially like I was a float pool nurse for a little bit, which I loved again, because it was just like, I never knew which unit I was going to. So I got to really experience a lot of people, again, just so many people and so many different aspects of their life. But what I was finding was just that it was only focused on the medical side of it. And then you can go to like more a holistic way and only focus on the whole, like, sorry, not holistic, that's not the word, natural. And so this is the holistic part, whole, as in like WHOLE, holistic, is we get to really see what journey is best for you, right? And we get to like see you as a whole instead of like as a diagnosis or a label or anything like that. It's just really this, yeah, beautiful acceptance of where you are now.
So on the metaphysical anatomy, how do you, I don't know, how do you see that, or do you see things in other people, or how do you walk them into tapping into their own metaphysical anatomy, or exactly what are you talking about when you say that?
Yes. Okay. Thank you for saying that, because yes. So I also like to really encourage and facilitate for, and this is the empowerment part, is that you don't have to keep going to somebody like for external validation or healing or whatever, right? Is working with me is you're actually going to also be more in tune with your body. And so I am constantly doing this as well, right? I'm always working with somebody because I'm always being able to shift and be able to tune in even more and talk to my body and all these fun things. So when we're getting into the metaphysical anatomy, often what happens is like, I'm drawn to a specific area or organ or something in your body. And then we can see kind of like the emotions that are coming from that or what you're noticing in that aspect. And then I'm empowering you, right? Guiding you, facilitating for you to be able to start to listen to that and start to tap into that. Because again, like when I first started this journey, I couldn't hear anything. I couldn't sit for a meditation for 30 seconds, right? Like, and now, like I can actually listen to my body and be able to have my body listen to me as well. Because there's this whole like there's this back and forth, right? So in nursing, we would talk about I forget the names in the nursing now, but it would be like if you're taking a medication, it was just like how the medication affects the body and how the body affects the medication. So this is what I'm talking about of like, except on a quantum energetic level, is just like how you're talking to the body and how the body's talking to you. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it can be little shifts, right? Again, this doesn't have to be hard and awful and whatever. It gets to be like, hey, you know what? I'm going to stop saying that I'm in so much pain all the time, because our words are our wands. They really, 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 really are. And so are our thoughts. So it can be something as simple as just noticing how we are talking to the body and then how the body's responding to that, if that kind of helps answer your question there.
Right. Yeah. I know it's easier for some people to feel things in their body to to be in touch with the feeling. Other people, it can be quite difficult to to connect the two in that way. But I think we're all possible. I think we're all made that way. We're all made to be able to do that, but it does take practice and it does take some guidance, for a lot of people to it's like, I don't know, I was going to say, use the old phrase, knowledge is our power, but in a it's very true as far as but not just book learning, not just school learning, all sorts of every experience and every person we can learn from and listen to it, and then begin to listen to your body. Yeah, it's a foreign concept right, to a lot of people, I think.
Yep. And when you're saying knowledge is power, I think it's like this awareness, right? Because our knowledge is only as powerful as we are aware of it, really, right? Because I didn't realize that I was talking and thinking to my body the way that I was. I didn't realize that, I couldn't sit down for 30 seconds. Right? I didn't realize. I was unaware. I was unconscious of those things. And so this is what you're really getting when you're journeying with me as well, is this awareness, this self-awareness. And then we get to shift that into this self-acceptance, right? Because then I became aware, super aware, and was so mad at myself and so mad at the world and so mad at my family, like, just my life that I lived my whole life. I was just mad about it. But that was, if you ever like look at the like levels, right? It's just like anger is up here, but it's actually like you got to kind of go down to the grief and the sadness, and right, anger is just up here. So
yeah, it's
I
one
was
of
in my
the
head.
quicker reaction.
Yeah.
To find the underlying things.
Yeah. So it was really like coming out of my head into my heart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then, and this is again where the feminine flow is coming back in, is like coming from the heart and then actually like shifting down, right, into like our reproductive system, our root chakra, our yonis, right, and just like rooting into this, embodying this, embracing this, right, which I think is totally taboo. And yeah, so I think it's really having this like beautiful, and this is where like the balance comes in, right? And balance is such a funny word, because balance doesn't mean like, okay, I'm going to stand on a board and I'm just balanced all the time. Like sometimes you fall in, right? You just fall in. It happens.
Or remember, I don't know if you do, when I was a kid, they still had teeter-totters on the playgrounds.
Yes.
And it's probably good they take some of them out sometimes, because a mean kid could really, or it could happen by, someone get dumped on the ground without it being intended, just because someone jumps off too soon. But so I can see why they took them out. But anyway, it was like, if you ever remember doing that, and it's like, you didn't always balance, this way, and you could balance and both of you be suspended in the air at different places, depending on your weight. And it was like special, and some people, they're stuck there, right? The two, and have to jump off just to get to the ground. So balance occurs in different ways, and that's all part of the flow.
Absolutely. And I love the teeter-totter analogy. I love that. And it's interesting because it's like, I kind of see that as when I went in and dove right into this, and then just was like thrown back into nursing, in a unit that I was unhappy with, because it's like after you are aware of these things, it's like a near-death experience. If you've ever heard of people having like these near-death experiences where they're just like, and they like remember and they see wild things, and they just, their whole perception, their whole world is just like completely transformed in a flash, right? And then they like wake up and they go to their family that they were having in, and they're just like I can't function because I'm a completely different person. Basically they put on these like glasses, or maybe they take the glasses off, right? And they see through a whole new lens. And I remember seeing this documentary about near-death experiences, and I was like, oh, that is how I felt. I felt like, how do I function now in this world? Like, how do I function knowing these things? How do I function in a society? How do I function in these systems and nursing and schooling, and then having my son, right? And I was like, I'm just going to get out of them. And then I had my son. I was like, well, guess I'm coming back into the, right? Like, like giving birth and stuff. And then that was a whole new thing. So this is where it really is out creating, like I keep saying, it's out creating these systems, where you get to like live in this teeter-totter. But honestly, the analogy I just keep getting from this teeter-totter is like somebody taking the other end, and like, did you ever have they would do this, and then you would like, oh, I have to like hold on, and
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So I like the word out creating because it makes us think, right? It makes us, it's not just fighting. It's not a resistance. It's what can I do that's learn from inside, right? Or from other people, but to learn and use those creative energies that we're all made of to find that expression that we can add to help others find their expression. And yeah, I really like that out creating. It shows what responsibility we have. Instead of, it helps us, anyone that has trouble with more powerlessness, or perhaps too much feminine energy, where you're just wallowing in that, it puts the responsibility where it is, which is on us to find that, to do that, take those actions. So yeah, very good. So, and then you do the hydrogen water. So how does I don't know a lot about hydrogen water. How does that, why is that healthy for us? Why is it a really good thing?
Okay, yeah. So I've got my big jug here. It's huge. But okay, so this to me was one of the quantum keys, to be honest, because okay, so hydrogen rich water. So I have an ionizer, and it goes through electrolysis. It takes the water through electrolysis, and it splits the hydrogen atoms, which makes it hydrogen rich. And molecular hydrogen is the most powerful antioxidant in the world. So just as working with me and journeying with me in the quantum and the energetics, and as this holistic picture, you're getting into a cellular level, right? The water is doing this as well. So I had such a life-changing experience with this. And now, like I said, I transform, like my psoriasis, by the way, is like completely healed. Like that's not even like a thing anymore. Like I don't even worry about it. And like that was like years and years and years. And then finally it was just like healing from the inside out, just poof, gone, transformed, vanished. The other symptoms in my body as well. And then the shoulder injury, I had this bone that was protruding. So I'd literally like do this and my hand would go like this. And that was just my reality for years and years and years. And I started drinking this water, and I woke up one morning and I just like did this and was like, what the heck? Like I was like, something's missing. And the bone actually went back into place. And like, I mean, I can't make health claims, right? But I can say that like I started drinking the water in March of last year, and like in like April or May, this bone just went back into place. And then I had some other amazing things. That was like the biggest one. And then my two and a half year old, so he was 1.5 at the time, he kept getting fevers every time he was teething. Like there were mild grade fevers, but still he was getting fevers every time he was teething. He had these like swollen glands behind his ears. And again, I did all the energy things. I took him to like naturopath, osteo, chiro, all the things, right? And started drinking the water, instantly went away. Like I'm talking like days, and just all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh. And they had been there like basically like his whole life. And his fevers stopped as well. So we had this like amazing transformational experience with the water, and then changing the water that I showered in as well, which again with my psoriasis, like I would shower and it would be like in and out, because my skin would be burning, like burning. And even after, and like I would put, like I had a filter on my shower head. and it would still be burning. And even after like the psoriasis was gone. And so now what I have is like, it's basically like having a hot spring bath. So it has minerals in it. So now like my son and I, like I used to have to use coconut oil with like some lavender and stuff in it. And we don't use anything now. No coconut oil, no lotions. I don't have to shampoo or condition my hair. Like I shampooed it 3 times in 1 year.
Wow.
Yeah, it's insane. And I mean, I tried to do that many times, and like the longest I could ever get was like 2 weeks, and I would have to condition it and it would just feel like straw after, and I would do this and it'd be so itchy and I'd have like gunk in my nails, right? And that just like went away. So this has been like a beautiful gift for me to incorporate for myself and my son and my friends and my family, and people that want to journey with me, right? My clients. And I don't even like saying the word clients, because it just feels like, I don't know, it's like we're the soul family, right? We get to journey together, we get to play together, and yeah, so it's one of the things in my medicine pouch now, which because again, I couldn't help but share it since having a life transforming experience.
I wanted to touch a little more on the personal. I know myself, as well as other friends that I've known, when you make the big switch from the whether it's medical healthcare or whether it's standard business practices or ideals or anything where you're bucking the main theme of thought, right? Mainstream, then so many, myself and other people, have felt a big backlash, like from family or friends, and it's like, 'cause often you end up, I wouldn't say losing family, but definitely there's shifts. So if they recover, if the relationships recover at all, they're not the same again, right? And the as far as friends, it's like you end up getting a whole new set of friends. Just it's like a taboo almost, and especially I can imagine in the medical system leaving that. And so, did you have to experience or go through any of that?
1000%. Yeah.
Yes.
And it's not easy. It's like this identity crisis, right? Um, and the ones that are really meant to be my true family, my true friends, they've accepted me the entire time. They've accepted me the entire time. And the big hardest part was the ones that I thought were true family and the ones that I thought were true friends not accepting it, right? Because it doesn't mean that my true family and my true friends like believe in what I do and say, and they're just like, oh, it's just crazy Tash, right? But I kind of always got that my whole life anyways, because I was always just loving nature and loving life, and that was like, oh, she's nuts, she must be on drugs, or she must be whatever, right? So it just kind of really just brought to light what was already happening. And it really allowed me to have healthy boundaries and self-respect and self-love of, why am I giving and giving and giving to people who don't actually care about me, who aren't giving back, right? And I felt they were, like, I was like, oh, we're friends or we're family or whatever,
Sure.
but
Sure.
just feeling so depleted all the time, and just being like nervous of like, oh, what if I do or say the wrong thing around this person, right? Or
Hmm.
leaving there crying. I had one of my best friends, I'd literally leave her house bawling like every single time.
Hmm.
And that was hard, like to go through that. And it really created this beautiful space. And now I have this incredible community, I have incredible friends, and some of them, the relationships I still have from before, they're different, right? We're not hanging out as much, or it's just different, and that's okay. And I think 2020 really magnified that as well,
It
especially
did.
my
Yeah.
family.
Did you have trouble in healthcare, or because you were working in the hospitals then, right? Um, like, had your your views switched on vaccinations or things like that too?
Yeah. So I hadn't been getting like a flu shot for years and years. As soon as I realized we didn't actually have to, I stopped. I was like, why? Like,
Right.
it's not doing
Why?
anything. Like,
Yeah.
I'm whatever. So I was already in that way. And then I actually was put on unpaid leave because I kept getting reactions from the masks. And that being told again, like, no, you're not. Like, okay, well, like, really? Because I'm going home and I can't function because I have these throat infections that keep happening. And no doctor would back me up on that. So even though like the health care doctor was like, many people are like reporting this, right? But like this
Mhm.
shouldn't be happening. But like
Mhm.
other people are reporting this too. So I'm like, okay, well, what happens in 4 months or 4 years when everyone's having these symptoms and the whole hospital goes into crisis? Like, what's going to happen then?
Mhm.
He's like, well, hopefully it'll just be, it's going to be done in 3 months. And then that was
Uh,
like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So I'm still on unpaid leave from my hospital because of issues from wearing the masks. Um, which again is insane. Like, why didn't they accommodate me? Right? Like, it's insane. Anyways, that's a whole nother thing. Um, and yeah, and so no, that was a huge separation with a lot of family members. And again, I think it was a perfect excuse for people to be like, actually, I don't want you in my life, which had nothing to do with masks or vaccines or anything. It was a perfect excuse, right? And what I always find so interesting is it was like, okay, well, that was 2020, whatever. And then it kind of like, it just kind of went away. Like, oh, the
Mhm.
mask kind of went away. The mandates went away. No, they didn't. And it's
Right.
like, this is still affecting people's lives in a big way. This is affecting people's lives and their health in a big way,
Mhm.
right? And their relationships. And thankfully for me, like I'm feeling supported and like I thankfully had that foundation right as I literally took my mask off. Then that's when the whole world shut down and was like, you need to wear a mask. And I was like, what? So synchronistic. Um, but yeah, like people are still experiencing that. And thankfully I had that foundation and it was still hard. I struggled. I'd be lying if I said I didn't in 2020. And um there's people who didn't have that foundation and there's still people who are in that hole and they're still living in that 2020 mentality,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, there
so
is.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's sad.
it is. And then there's this like societal of like, oh well, it just went away, and how people were treating each other and things that were happening, like, well, that's just okay now. And there's some family members who like totally shunned me completely, and still do, and whatever, that's fine. And then there's some that shunned me, and now it's just kind of like, oh well, like you're welcome back, but like it's different. It doesn't
Yeah.
feel the same. I don't feel welcome. Um, and then it was hard because now I have a son, and I'm like, I do want, him to experience some of these people in his life, not their beliefs and the way they outlook on life. And like again, it's this out creation, right? We don't have to like go there and spend 24 hours with them, right? And their way of living. And it's like we still get to experience this family and that we get to choose differently. It's not like, what's that word? Like like hovering my child. Oh my gosh, I can't think of the word. But basically like covering him and just like not letting him experience things, right? Because
Shielding.
sheltering. Yes,
Shelter.
yes, yes, yes. Thank you. I can't shelter him, right? So it's just teaching him that people have different views, people have different ways of living, people have different lifestyles, and that's perfectly beautiful. That's the beautiful part of being human.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, very good. Yeah, I know around here I'm thankful to be in a rural area, and so it wasn't as bad. I was able to get out of wearing a mask, and I was supposed to be in a jury selection, and I was excused because
Wow.
I told them I wouldn't.
Good for
so,
you.
so they
That's
let me off.
huge.
But I know other nurses around had lost their jobs. Quite a number of hospital workers did, and it was a hard time. But like you said, yes, some people didn't even have to deal with that too much, but took it as seemed really that it took it as a way to withdraw, and still are withdrawn, and it's sad. I hope eventually everyone can expand and fully not just return to where they were, right? Return to where they need to be,
Mm.
in tapping into their body, soul, and spirit, yeah, and expressing for the highest good, yeah. So I would like to just to talk to the audience for a little bit. Tash and I are going to each draw an oracle card. We wanted to refer not to medical part, but to the body, soul, spirit idea of and working today. And so we're each going to draw an oracle card for guidance, because this week has been very highly predicted in astrology for a couple years. I think people looked ahead. The stars alignments are all different, and energies we're experiencing could be slightly different. And of course, the world stage is unpredictable and things. And so we were just hoping to add a bit of encouragement and perhaps the spiritual guidance that might be helpful. And I guess I'll go ahead and go first. Is that okay with you?
Sure, of course.
And so I used my tree oracle cards. I'm a big tree lover. And this one I drew a little bit earlier. I drew the holly card, and I'll put it up here. The holly tree.
Oh, that's so cool. How many
It
times
is.
was I doing this today in our call too?
Absolutely. It's all about listening,
Love it.
hearing your spirit and being in alignment, quieting the mind. That's what I saw when I do, because I'm always doing quiet the mind so you can hear your spirit. And yeah. And so I'm going to turn on a little light to read a little better here. But to me, the holly card was all about that these energies, the message was that these energies are to bring us clarity, to help us see beyond the veil into our own hearts and spirits and lives, so that we can learn to listen to our hearts, listen to our bodies, as Tash was so eloquently speaking about, and so that we can choose not to, in taking advantage or changing anybody or trying to change those relationships or whatever that we don't like, but that we use that clarity and insight and inner guidance to follow our own spirit, walk our own path. And that's what these energies are for this year. It's to help help us break through the veils of illusion in many areas that surround us, so that we can fully be who we're meant to be. And that's the holly card.
Love it.
So Tash, go ahead. What card did you use, or what deck did you use?
Okay, so it's so funny because I'm actually, sometimes I use a book as like an oracle. So what I'm going to do, it's called Unleash Her Wild. It's by Akaya. And it's an incredible book. And so I'm just going to do this and see. Okay. So this is just a little excerpt from it. So it says, meanwhile, while our savings account was emptying quickly, we were unsure of how we'd be able to make ends meet on our small income once we got out west, or if we'd even make it there at all. I began to question everything, including the reasons for leaving in the first place. Feeling somehow I was being punished, old programs and beliefs running on repeat in my mind, telling me that I was crazy and a selfish mother for making this decision. The trailer got repaired and we were back on the road again, headed west to meet other families who had left before us. So I feel like this is so beautiful, especially when you're talking about, because you're giving us that like that hope and that like balance and just like following your own path, right? And so she here was following her own path, and still it's not a matter of just you follow your own path and then, oh cool, let's just keep doing that. It's like things come up, beliefs come up, right? Like she's saying here, she thought she was crazy, old programs, beliefs running on repeat. And then I love how it's about the like our savings account was emptying quickly, right? Because I think this is a huge global fear right now. And this is like what, I mean, I don't go on the media, but like this is what I keep hearing people talking about of right, all these different things and around money, and that it's going to get worse and da 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 da, right? And it's like, okay, hey, guess what? We are this tree. We get to be in this balance. We get to walk our own path. And that is actually how we find other women, other families, right? This is how we find each other, is by doing that and following our hearts, right? And then watching, even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable, that all the oh, my cats just went crazy with it. That's so interesting. I was like, did something just fall? I was going to say, in those moments that actually we have everything that we need, right? And that the money appears and that the experiences appear and the resources appear, the people appear, right? When we're walking that path. And I think the biggest reminder right here, right now, is that, well, we're just going to walk the path once the money appears, once the people appear, once the experiences appear. It doesn't work that way, right? Because you're sitting there waiting. You're like, okay, the analogy that's coming right now is like, if you're going to get on the train to go to the next destination, are you going to sit on the bench with your ticket? Or maybe not even buy the ticket? Or you're going to buy the ticket, get on the train, and go, right? And then that's when you get to your destination.
And yes, absolutely. But that speaks so much to what I think is a big part of the message is it this time? Right? I've thought of the money thing too, and I've come a long way on getting rid of money blocks, and yet there was still, occasional things that bothered. And it was like I just had this breakthrough. It was like the other night things were shifting real fast, and I was connecting dots like crazy. It was really intense energy, but that's what the time that we're in now. It's the time. Is for us, right? The time is for us. And even in the money you were talking about, or, the waiting, right? That's all about time. Wondering when the money will come, wondering what to do. It's all about time. And these are wonderful, awesome times that are meant for our highest good. That's what all the star energy is always for, is to work for our own highest good. And if we can take time to take those breaths or do those other excellent health things that are good for us to help us be calm and listen inside and know that that the universe, everything is always working for our highest good, and that this time is meant for us to excel, to outcreate, to fully express our own spirit's desires for the highest good of all, so that we, as well as the universe, can be all it is meant to be. And beautiful. So, Tash, do you have one last word of encouragement or advice for people? And then if you could tell people again how to contact you.
Yeah, I think it would definitely be, that you're exactly where you're meant to be right now, and just accept where you are. And where you are now isn't a reflection of where you can be and where you're going to be, right? Because you might be thinking, oh, well, yeah, but I have mountains of debt, or, I'm the one on the couch not being able to sit with my thoughts. That's where you are, and that's okay. And you get to choose differently, right? Because I was there too. So if I can do it, which I have and I am constantly, right? I'm always like getting in, then so can you, right? Because if one person can do it, so can another person. It's just going to look totally different, right? You don't have to do what I do, right? It doesn't have to look the same. So just really accepting where you are now and having compassion where you are now, and that you get to choose differently, and that you're here for a reason. So reach out to Carla, reach out to me. If you'd like to journey with me and learn more about what that journey looks like, you can definitely message me. I have a Facebook group. You can follow me on social media as well. But definitely send me a message. I have opened up 5 spaces for this podcast to have a complimentary intake call with me, and just to really get clear on kind of where you are and where you want to go. And and so that includes for the replay. So if you're thinking on the replay, there's no spots left, well, that's a lack of mindset, right? What else is possible? Perhaps there is, or maybe I opened more for a later replay moment. So message me, let's connect. And yeah, you're meant to be, do, and have everything you desire, require, and beyond. That is your birthright. So let's do that.
Awesome. Very good. So thanks everyone for watching, and thank you, Tash, for joining me today. And please like and subscribe to help us grow. So we'll talk to you
Amazing.
next week.
Thanks so
Bye-bye.
much, Carla. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.